What's up, guys? Welcome to Grease Lightning Reactions. We're here for the top 20 anime of 2016, at least the anime that I enjoyed the most. This is not going to be, it's kind of wrong to say the best of 2016 because I don't know if I'd classify some of these critically as the best, but I ordered it in the way, if I enjoyed one or more than the other. A lot of these, it was really hard to figure out where I was going to place it, especially the top 10. And there are actually some good shows that are going to be left off. I just wanted to give a quick shout out before I actually start my list of some shows that were actually really good. Kisniver from Trigger is a really good show. It starts off, it's kind of weird, but it starts to get really, really emotional. If you like a show that has a really unique style, it's got really beautiful animation, and the characters are really quirky. So I think that's a good show. It didn't make my list. And then the other one that I really want to give a shout out to is... What was it? Oh, there's two more, actually. 91 Days didn't make my list. I really enjoyed 91 Days. It's a mobster anime about a guy who's getting revenge for his family, infiltration into the mob, the family that killed his parents. It is a slow, methodical show about basically him taking the steps to make that a reality. And everything doesn't work perfectly, and it's really fun to see where he screws up, how he fixes it, and how he ties up loose ends and all that stuff. Really good mobster flick. And then lastly, I'm gonna say Akagami no Shiryuki Hime. They had a second season. If you guys didn't watch my first recommendation of the show in the 2015 shows, the second season I watched it, and it ends really well. Beautiful romance show. It's a prince and a princess type story. Princess is from nothing, and the prince is very he's got everything, but it's a really cute and I don't know, I really like good romances, and I haven't seen very many, and this was one of them, so I really, really recommend that. Anyways, guys, getting those out of the way, I will say we're going to start my list now. So here we go. We're going to start with number 20. Let's begin. Alright, so number 20 we're going to say is Magi Sinbad no Boken. So this is actually a side story. I guess it has its own manga series. If you guys haven't watched Magi, this is absolutely not for you. Sinbad was actually my favorite character in the entire series, so having an entire series just for him was really, really fun to watch. It basically tells the story of how he, from his humble beginnings all the way to where he ends up now when he's, spoilers for anyone who watches Magi and doesn't want any character details at all, becomes ruler of a nation. You know how he gets all of his generals together. I already really like the generals in the show, and then just seeing how they grow to trust him, and the different locations, getting to see more dungeons. The dungeons have always been something that are really unique in Magi, so seeing all that is awesome. Even when he was a young kid, he was a badass, and I like him just as much. Even though one of the reasons that I really, really like Sinbad is because he's so overpowered. You don't get that as much, though he's still pretty overpowered. But you do get a lot of interesting detail about the state of the world. Get to see more of the Magis. You don't really see them very often in the main series. I mean, I guess you do get to see them a little bit, but you get to see them a little more. So yeah, Magi, that Sinbad show was really good. It's kind of short. I think it was only 13 episodes. And it doesn't completely finish, so I'm really hoping for more. If you want a show to hop onto before another season appears, that's one. I know they're going to continue it because the way they ended it, there's nothing resolved. There's a lot of foreshadowing. So yeah, that's going to be my number 20. We're moving on to number 19. Alright, number 19 is Tales of Zestiria the Cross. Tales of Zestiria, the Tales series has not been one that I am a fan of at all. I've tried playing a few, what was it? Tales of Zestiria, not Zestiria, there was that X one, the one that started with an X. Oh, I can't remember, where you play as the two protagonists. Anyways, I tried playing that. I tried playing a little bit of Tales of Zestiria, the game, and just wasn't for me. I really didn't like the combat system. I didn't like the open world segments. It's not really an open world, but I didn't like just playing the game. And when you think of the Tales series, even the bit that I played, it's a pretty generic-ish story. At least the beginning is, because I never get far enough to get into it. But this was really, really surprising. This is made by Studio Ufotable, which is my favorite animation studio. So it's going to look good. It's a really different style. Ufotable is really good at being unique in its art style and being really good at it. So, if you watch the Fate series, that is my favorite style. But they also did God Eater, which had this filter over it and like this almost like painting. I don't know, it was a weird style, but it looked really good. And this is a different, very bright and colorful. It looks like cutscenes you could have in the game, but not like in game, because I lament that they never do in game. I lament the fact that everything is in engine cutscenes now. I really like those beautiful production values and all that stuff. That's what it looks like in here. Story wise, it's a really pleasant story. It's not the best story, but I found it very enjoyable. The characters are really unique. It's basically about malevolence, so it's just another word for just evil, is spreading throughout the world, and basically the only person that can take care of it is the chosen one, right? Which is the shepherd, Sore, which is the main character. He is a human who was raised among the seraphs. Seraphim? I forget what they call them. Basically, these are beings that once lived hand in hand with human beings, and slowly, I don't remember the exact explanation, but it slowly started fading from the memories of humans. They started living without them. They started being just legends. So the only person who can actually see these the evil as well as these seraphim is Sore. So he's basically almost like an ambassador, basically, between the two, when he wants to communicate between the two people. He basically is going around purifying people, and I don't know, the characters are interesting, that they're likable enough that that generalized plot itself isn't that bad. There's a lot of really unique characters that I really love. I did do live reactions, so I can't unprivate 1 through 6, but I did unprivate 7 through 12. So if you want something, 7 through 13, 12, I don't remember what the exact count is. So if you want something to watch alongside, that is absolutely something you can do. Currently airing is the 2nd season, and it's going great. It's going great. So yeah. If you guys want something that looks beautiful, you don't know how many times I'd be like, wow, how long did it take them to make that scene? You'll have a lot of those moments, and it's a very pleasant ride. So that's what I'm promising. I did really enjoy it. So yeah, that's going to be it for number 19. On to 18. So number 18, we've got Danganronpa 3, The Despair, Future, and Hope arcs. This is not relevant to anyone that has not watched season 1 of the anime, then proceeded to play the games, or the right way to do it, play the games 1 and 2. I'm not sure if they're out yet. Even if you're not a gamer and like a hardcore gamer, these are visual novels, and it's a lot of detective work. I don't really recommend season 1. This is awesome. It's like a murder mystery, freaking survival game, done to perfection. I love these games. These games are some of my favorite games I've ever played. It's about just for those people that don't know anything about Danganronpa. I really, really want people to go out and play Danganronpa. There's this school called Hope's Peak Academy, and in this school, they basically get together all of the most talented people in Japan, and I think there's some people outside of Japan too. and they locate them in this one academy. Each of these students is the best at something. You know, they're the best baseball player, they're the best detective, they're the best, you know, like the best weaver, they're the best freaking mechanic. You know, there's all these different things that they're really good at, and they're all together here to make sure that they bring hope to the world. And there is an incident that occurs, and they are trapped within the school, and they are lured into a killing game where they can't escape without, like, basically, like, they have these, like, courtroom, like, trials, and you have to figure out, like, they give them reasons to kill each other. You need to find out who the culprit is. If the culprit kills someone and the wrong person is picked as the actual murderer, they get away with it. So it's really intense. This is why I don't recommend season 1, because the whole investigation aspect is completely lost in season 1. I also really hate when people say just go watch the freaking cutscenes on YouTube, because it's the worst way to do it. Just play the damn game. I don't know. Anyways, please play the games if you are able to. If you're absolutely not able to, if you don't think that you can do it in any way, they're even out on Steam. So if you have access to a computer, any computer can handle them. I know there's an out-of-pocket cost for them, but trust me, it's really worth it. But if that's absolutely not possible, then yeah, those ways that I just told you about. Anyways, those of you guys that have those of you that have not played or watched or plan to, even if you don't plan to play them, I just don't listen to this part. Just don't listen to this part. So this happens after Danganronpa 2. The future arc does. And it basically tells the story of Naegi and him basically being accused of, like, not doing enough and, like, basically being responsible for the despairs and stuff like that, and another killing game occurs. But at the same time, you have the despair arc. So if you're gonna watch this, you got to I forget what the order is, but it's like future. You watch episode 1 of future arc, episode 1 of despair arc, episode 2 of future arc, despair arc, and then once you're done with the future despair, like back to back, there is an epilogue conclusion, which is the hope arc. But the new characters are really cool, and they are way more involved. You find out, like, it's when you look back, there's an entire segment in Danganronpa 2. Those of you that have played it, you know what I'm talking. Rest of you shouldn't be here. There's that whole memory aspect where they see the photographs and they had all this time at school that they don't remember. You actually get to see what happened in that time span. I think that's the Danganronpa 2 cast. And the people from the future arc are actually present in that arc, and you see how, like, what happens in the back and forth, like I don't know, the stuff that is from this arc feeds into the next arc, and I had so much fun and joy, like way more fun than season 1. Like I told you, it was a complete disappointment for me, but I really, really liked how they tied everything together. It's like, how did it work so well? I was really excited. I completely marathoned it, actually. Once the dub showed up, I had to watch the dub. The dub is fantastic. Watch it in dub if you're going to watch it, because you played the game in English. Unless you played it in Japanese, then maybe you just wanted to watch it in Japanese. But yeah, that stuff, this is more of like a fanboy in me putting it this high. But yeah, I mean, it's not super high, but you know, I really, really, really enjoyed it. So those of you Danganronpa fans, you know what to do. You know what to do. All right, guys. On to 17. Alrighty, we're here for number 17, which is Thunderbolt Fantasy. Thunderbolt Fantasy. What can I say about this show? I think this, if anyone's to make a top 20 and they've watched the show, I think it belongs on it. Even, like, I don't think, again, like I was talking about Tales, I don't think this is the best of stories, but I think I enjoyed it so, like I said, this is my list of enjoyment. I enjoyed it so much for how unique it is and how, like the detail in this like this is like freaking. If you don't know what this is puppetry. They made an entire. Some people are talking. Oh man, this is an anime. I don't care if you don't think it's anime. Enjoy it for what it is. It's like an olden Japanese times type show where there's like a big bad god dude who's hunting down legendary swords, and he wants this one that is known to be all powerful. And there is this princess and her brother who are taking care of it. She basically has to escape because she doesn't want him to complete the sword. There's actually 2 parts. So she has to get away. And she runs into this stranger and this mysterious, like, pipe-smoking wise man. And they go on a journey together. They really want to take down this man because he wants to actually unleash, like, an evil into the world. That's the gist of, like, a really, really basic way of doing it. Now, this being a puppet show, one of the things that may irk you, I don't know because it didn't irk me at all, is that there is no real mouth movement. There is some, but it's not like 1-to-1 because they were actively doing this. They also do some weird CG effects that aren't the best, but I had to. Anyways, they have these like presets, like these sets built out, and these are like these little grass pieces. I don't know if they use real grass or what. Like they have these trees molded and shit like that. It's just, if you don't know who made it, Gen Urobuchi made this. And I really like Gen Urobuchi. Gen Urobuchi's a man. He's a legendary director. If you don't know his work, you should know his work. He did Madoka. He did. I think he did Psycho-Pass too as well, right? Even though I don't like Madoka, but that's besides the point. This, I don't know how he did, like, when did this like come to his attention? I think there may even be a season 2 for this show, but yeah, it's hard for me to talk about it because you really have to see it and decide for yourself. It's absolutely not a show for everyone. There was a moment when I decided, when I was thinking of dropping it, but I just kept going because it was just so beautiful. And I actually liked the personality of the main guy in the show. He was really fun to watch. They have some class A voice actors on there. The villain especially, I think he was my favorite voice. He's the guy who voices Gilgamesh in the Fate series. Yeah, that guy. That guy is a beast. The guy is really fun to watch. So yeah, this is all. I mean, this interested me to the point where I was actually looking up like how they do this, and what was it from, like Thailand or like freaking Malaysia or like somewhere over there. I forget which country it is, but they're known for this. And man, it really, really astonished me at how much I enjoyed it. I had so much fun like watching what they were gonna do next. So yeah, I highly recommend it. Just for its uniqueness, there really needs to be more risk taking in the anime industry, and this is absolutely a huge ass risk. It must have taken forever to make this show. So yeah, I'm gonna say Thunderbolt Fantasy for number 17. All right, on to 16. So I feel like I might get some flack for this, just because when I've looked around, really this show was like at the top of a lot of people's lists. And if you guys watched my reactions, this is Yuri on Ice. Is number 16. I did really enjoy this show. There are a lot of people that stayed away from the show because of that it was 2 guys that are in love, and I can see some people aren't comfortable with that. Okay, I was okay with it, and I loved the skating. I haven't seen. I like figure skating. I occasionally have watched it in the Olympics. And Studio Mappa is doing it, and Mappa is really one of my favorite studios as well. They've done a lot of good shows, so I wanted to see how they would tackle another sports series. They did Days, which is a soccer show, but it wasn't really that good. But yeah, this show is about Yuri, so that's where they get people like Yuri on Ice. They're like, oh, it's gonna be girl on girl. No, the main guy's name is Yuri. Yuri's on Ice. Like, yeah. Um, Yuri on Ice is about Yuri, who, in the very first episode, goes to the Grand Prix finals, which is like the big stage, the biggest stage you can go to, like world championships, and he basically chokes. Like, he does not perform up to his ability at all, and basically decides that he's going to retire. He goes home, really loses himself. He's overeating, out of stress, and one day he decides to, get a little, get a little fitter, and he decides to do the skating routine of the world champion. This guy's a multiple-time world champion. It's a Russian skater, and these little girls end up recording him, and it ends up all over the world. And that professional skater, Victor, comes to Yuri and decides that he's going to take the year off skating and coach him. And basically you go from there. These two guys, this guy is Yuri's idol, and that's where, the romance develops and gets, more and more. And there's a really, I was about to say infamous, but like really popular scene in there. There's all kinds of stuff. It's all over the place. I don't know if this is like a meme thing either. I don't look at memes and shit like that, but it's all over. It's like the popular thing to watch in this season. So, I'm not saying that's why it's like on this list. I'm just saying that it is. It's like number one on a lot of lists. The animation leaves quite a bit to be desired in the actual skating segments, but I think the camera motions and stuff like that make it cool enough. And there are like some breathtaking like spins and shit that they do that I'm really impressed by. To the point, again, where I went out and I watched more figure skating and tried to learn the jargon of the freaking sport. That's when you know a sports anime is really good. When you go out of your way to really find the reason why, like, well, not the reason why, you go out of your way to actually look at the sport as like a real world. What am I trying to say? You go out of your way to find out more information. That's what I'm trying to say, and that's exactly what happened. So, yeah, that's awesome. It's a fun show. Even I think you should watch it if you want a good romance. You should watch it if you enjoy interesting characters. It's a good show that you should watch if you like sports anime. And if you're interested in ice skating in any way, I think there's a lot of reasons to watch the show. So, yeah, Yuri on Ice, I think it's definitely worth the watch. Definitely. Alright, guys. On to number 15. Number 15 is Ajin. Ajin Season 1 and Season 2. This is a show that I actually didn't live react to, watched on my own, and had a freaking blast watching this show. It was like adrenaline rush type show. It's really good. Now, right away, the elephant in the room basically is, yes, it is a CG show made by Polygon Pictures, who has done CG shows in the past. The whole reason I watched this show is because they had done CG fantastically before in Knights of Sidonia Seasons 1 and 2, so I'm a big fan of what they do. Not that I'm saying that it wouldn't be any better if it was like done in a different way, but they do a fantastic job with what they have. But Ajin is a show about these, what are deemed demi-humans, which are Ajin. People that are unable to die. Now, our main hero, Nagai K, is basically a normal dude. For the most part, he goes to school, goes on, he's got a normal life, he's got a good friend, best friend that sticks up for him all the time. But one day, he gets hit by a truck, and he finds out that he doesn't die. And he looks up, and there's a lot of people staring at him. Now, this is what's wrong with this situation. If you're in a Jin, you are looked at as a danger to everyone. Even in school, they teach you, about this, like a whole situation about uh you know wait. I'm not. Oh God, it's been a while since I watched this show. I forget that. Do they teach that our jinn are myths, or do they teach that they're dangerous? It's one or the other. I don't 100% remember because it changes in the future if it does. But anyways, the government is secretly doing like inhuman experimentation on these people, because think about it. Like, these people are immune to death. So there are a lot of trials of inhumane shit that you can do on these people, and they're going to be okay. Now, they're going to feel all that pain. They're going to go through hell, but they're not going to die, so it's okay, right? Now, this is not publicized. So, like, it is very bad. It paints the Japanese government in a very bad way. And basically, Nagai K becomes a fugitive. He's on the run from the world. But he has a jinn have this thing called an IBM, which is a like a black mummy thing that other people can't see, only other jinn can see, and it can go out and do a lot of shit. It can F up people, okay? It's really cool. The soundtrack is on point, and it has like what may be, if not the best, the second best villain of the season. Like, this guy is, oh man, the next level charisma. I really, it's on Netflix. If you have Netflix, I'd really go out and watch this show. It's really fun. It's really cool. I like the whole setup of this whole show. Like, the reason for being on the run and running into other jinn, and this dude who's like this villain who basically wants to take on the world. It's really cool. It's really cool. It's the only reason it's not higher up in this list is because this freaking year was amazing. So I was looking back on this freaking list and I was like, wow, this is hard. So number 15 on this list, it's really good. All right, guys. That is number 15. On to 14. Number 14 is Sweetness and Lightning. Sweetness and Lightning, yes. Now, at first I actually wasn't sure about where to put this show, because when you first think of your favorite shows of the season, you usually think of the high-octane shows, the comedies, the drama and all that stuff. This is none of that. This is really one of those heartwarming, my opinion, one of the best child performances I've ever seen in anime. What this show is about about a single father who is trying to raise his daughter. Now, the premise is really, this single father is also a teacher, and he has one of these students that loves food, and his little daughter actually really misses her mom's cooking, and the dad is frankly not a good chef, but to basically he feels really inadequate, so he tries to learn how to cook, and basically ends up in the situation where this student who has a love for cooking, her mom is a celebrity chef, ends up getting together with this family and cooking with them. That's literally what this is about. This is about these delicious recipes, these heartfelt moments when you're looking at like the things that this little girl is missing in her life. They really know how to pull on your heartstrings, but they also know how to put this beautiful smile. Like, I love the acting of this kid. I don't know if it's an actual kid voice acting. Like, usually I can tell, but I think it is. I just loved it so much. Like, not only do I love shows where they go like step by step, I like watch MasterChef, and I watch like just the Food Network just randomly. I like look up food recipes and shit. I like to cook myself, but I don't know how else to describe this show. Really, it's so heartwarming. That's the main reason I love it so much. It's it's heartwarming and it's heart tugging. So it's a very basic premise, just done perfectly. Just that's why it's so high up here. It's done perfectly, and it's really something that other shows that want this kind of impact should learn from. That's why I think this is a show that a lot of people should try, even if they haven't watched something like this. It's surprising. If you go outside of your comfort zone, just like I did when I started watching sports anime, when I started watching romance anime, trust me, when you go outside your comfort zone, you'll find things that you didn't know you liked. So I think that if you want something like, it's kind of slice of lifey, but there's also heartwarming. I keep coming back to that word because it's just so much is. It's so much is. I am not the best at getting out what I mean. If you guys haven't noticed, the previous time I made a video like this, I don't have that much time right now. I'm gonna put it straight. I had a little time home alone. I was like, all right, I need to talk about this stuff. There's no preparation for this. This is like basically what I thought of the show. So yeah, I really think everyone should check this out. Everything beyond this list, beyond this point, everything on this list really should be checked out. But this specifically, I gotta give a shout out to it. I gotta give a shout out to it. All right, Sweetness and Lightning. There we go. Go number 14 of this season year. What am I talking about? Anyways, number 13. Number 13 is Food Wars Season 2. This is one of the harder shows to place on here. It was when I was making this list, it was an actively made list. Every season would end and I would rank the shows, and the numbers would keep growing. I actually stopped doing that after a while. I only have like 33 shows on this list, but when I knew the shows, like when the entire year ended, I was just like, okay, I know which ones are gonna be top 20. So Food Wars Season 2, I am a huge fan of Food Wars. I talked about this in the last year's best shows of the season of the year, but Food Wars was a show that pushed me away from the first episode because of how ecchi it is. Now, does it remain ecchi, have elements of ecchi? Absolutely, but just not to the degree of the first episode. In the first episode, it gives you the impression that is all the show is about. But when you get to the academy and you start having competition, man, I'm a huge fan of tournaments. I'm a huge fan of competition in general. I'm a huge fan of food, man. So this is perfect. This is a great combination for me. Maybe it's not for everyone. I can see that, but it's surprising how competitive they can make these competitions look. That really surprised me. I wasn't expecting this. Now, I think that the main character is absolutely fun to watch. He's kind of arrogant, and he's overpowered in a weird way because he's a cook. You're like, overpowered as a cook? What the heck? But yeah, he is. But he doesn't give off that. It's not in the way that it is off-putting. Like, it's not off-putting. That's the main thing. I like overpowered characters, like, more than most people, but I think this is a character that a lot of people will like. Now, the supporting cast is, again, I keep saying this about all these shows, but they're very unique too. They come from different backgrounds. Their upbringing is what makes them unique chefs. The girl that came from a very tightly knit fishing community, the main character whose dad is an amazing chef, but he runs a little diner. The girl who is basically like been revered since she was born. The like freaking girl that is like blessed with technology and knows the girl that knows everything about like gastrochemistry and stuff, so she knows how it's gonna like feel when it goes in. All this stuff really lends to some unique approaches to food, unique characters that their personality fits their cooking style. And really, season 2 is them pitting all that together. That's all it is. The entire season is all out war, and that is so fun to watch. One of the shows coming up, higher up in this list, has a tournament coming up, and I'm really excited for that. So tournament arcs really get me, and this entire season was a tournament arc. And I was very surprised at some of the outcomes too. So, all that being said, I'm more excited. I'm excited for more Food Wars, man. That show is awesome. It is unique. It is awesome. Very fun to watch. Really recommend it. And I had great fun. I think I enjoyed season 2 better than I did season 1 even. It's hard to gauge. I was like training. Like, I don't know why. Anyways. Alright, guys. We're going to move on. Alright, number 12. Alright, number 12. Number 12 is Erased. Now, this show was pretty high on my list before. What really knocked it down was the ending. The ending wasn't the best, and I also thought that the reveal was very, very like obvious to me. I don't know. It did feel very obvious to me. This is probably a show that almost everyone's watched, but because it was like the talk of the town, man, basically. This is it basically has a high school student that has a very traumatic event occur where he loses a loved one, and basically goes so deep into shock that he like travels back in time. Yeah, and basically he goes far enough that he can start to put together why this happened and a way to prevent that from prevent further things from happening. Now there is a little girl that is involved in all of this, and she is someone that obviously she was a classmate of his. Well, I mean, it's not obvious, but she was a classmate of his when he was very young, and over time she goes missing. Now he knows this fact, but he goes back in time to a point where she's not missing. And one of the keys to this whole situation is finding out what happened to her and how that is linked with what happened to his relative, his family, and how that can help him progress further. Now that whole premise was really fun to watch unfold, because it's directed really nice. The scene composition, like the way they show things, is really cool. Showing like almost like they can show emotion through like eyes and stuff very well. And really simple things like kid romance like feels awkward because this man is not this. Oh wait, he's not even in high school. He's actually working. This guy is so old and he's basically falling for. Like, he's in elementary school. It's so awkward. It brings out so many emotions, but along the way it's really fun to try to figure out who it is. But I didn't think that my guess would be right because it was too easy. And I think that really detracts from the show. Not to mention that I really didn't like the ending. So I went out and read the manga ending, and the manga ending is really, really good. But knowing that there's a better manga ending doesn't make it worse, in my opinion, because the anime and the manga is different. But knowing that I didn't really like the anime ending, and then after the fact seeing a better ending, makes me lament it a little bit. So, yeah, this is definitely one of those shows that is quite different from everything else. But I just think that shortcoming basically knocks it down from being like really high on this list. Alrighty, on to number 11. Alrighty, number 11. Number 11 actually might surprise you a little bit just because season 1 wasn't that good. It was good, it was fun, but season 2, yeah. Bungo Stray Dogs, season 2. Man, like, damn. I could not believe like how good that season was. I don't know how many people actually ended up watching Bungo Stray Dogs. I actually saw some other reviewers actually bashing it really bad. Now, which is really weird because I think that season 1 was really fun to watch. Now, was it the best? No. Like I said, it was fun. It was really fun to watch because you know, I love shows with powers, and this had a show where there was an interesting like another layer on top of it, which is the whole the powers being named after the works of great authors, which is really cool because I did recognize some of them, and you know it makes sense. A lot of their personalities as well are based off of these authors, and the leads in this show are really different from a lot of the leads I've seen. The main guy, like Dazai, is. I think Dazai was the one that really got people, like, on one side or the other. I love the man. Okay, he's awesome. This guy is a badass. He is funny, and he is the leader of the main organization. Well, he's not really the leader, but the leader actually doesn't show up very often, so I basically make him the leader. Talks about death all the time and dying, and I think that put off people in a weird way, which I don't really understand. The main character is kind of one of those weak main characters that I normally don't like, but his growth is pretty swift. And he keeps growing and growing, and even through season 2, he grows more and more. I think that the city and all the activities that are occurring in this show, season 1 and 2, are really interesting. One being that there's this agency, which is basically the headquarters of the good guys. They go out and prevent a lot of bad things from happening, of course. And then there's this mafia, which is called the Port Mafia, and they are triggering all these events. There's rivalries between the people in each of these factions, and there's history between these guys that really plays a part when they meet. There are mirror reflections, like basically, like, you know, so like the main young character, and there's also another young character on the other side that are both very likable. And for me, it was really hard to root for one side or the other at times. And what season 2 does even better is introduces a third group that is just as dangerous, just as interesting. And I think there was a good, like, you know, there was a good reveal about why each of these factions is doing what they're doing, and it had phenomenal flashbacks. Season 2 started with a lot of information that we didn't really know about, which was really cool to see, as well as some battles that were awesome. Season 1 had some really good battles as well. Now, that's the thing. I think the comedy could be off-putting. I can see it being off-putting to some people. I don't know how to describe it, though. I'm just going to leave it at that. It can be off-putting. I think you need to look and watch the show on your own. Now, if you didn't like season 1, I'm not entirely sure if season 2 is going to convince you otherwise, because I think a lot of it was the pre-established liking that I had to the characters. I really did already enjoy watching these characters, and it just, that second season just made it even better, and it actually added a lot more suspense in season 2 because the stakes were much, much higher, and the powers got crazier and crazier, and it really involved a lot of the stronger characters. Now, I don't mean strong in terms of like straight up ability, but more so like the well-written characters were more involved in season 2, and they were center stage. So that's why I think season 2 is so high, and that's really what surprised me so much, because it really leans into its strengths for season 2 and does not stop. So all the way through, I'm really, really, really hoping for a season 3. I think it's great, and I really think people should watch it. So that's number, what was this? 11. Top 10 time. Let's go.